Hey guys, welcome to season 3, episode 6 of Business Shit. I am your girl, Mimi G, and today's topic is get your money right. And I am so excited because I have a very special guest today, Tiffany Alicia, aka the Budgetnista. Listen, I was trying to put together a quick little bio to read, but it's a lot of shit, so I'm just gonna give you the highlights. So Tiffany is an award-winning teacher of financial education, and it says quickly becoming America's favorite personal finance expert, but she already is. She has made it her mission to empower women, which she does, and provide them with access to the tools and resources needed to create a better life for themselves and their families. She also blogs about her personal finance, on personal finance for the Huffington Post, and of course her Budgetnista blog. She co-hosts an award-winning podcast called Brown Ambition and has an online school, the Live Richer Academy, that teaches women how to create, implement, and automate their own personalized financial freedom plan. Yo, I could barely breathe, and that was like a sentence, like a paragraph from her bio. Tiffany, aka the Budgetnista, welcome to the podcast, girl.
Woo-woo. Thank you, Mimi.
I'm so excited that you are on here with us today because people need to get their money right, okay? And that is what you do. So we met about 4 years ago, huh?
Yeah, we did.
So Tiffany and I met at this event called Release the Chains or something like that. You remember, girl?
Something. Let me not be shady.
Oh, it was something we was talking at. And I remember sitting there and the host was like, stressed out. People was stressed out, girl, because you was running late. And I was like, who running late? The next speaker? Who Tiffany? So I'm sitting in the back, and all of a sudden Tiffany come in and she take over this whole stage. And then while you up there, you mentioned my name, and I was like, she know me? I was so excited.
And I didn't follow you. I love you. And that's how she got me to speak, truthfully. I was like, and she's like, Mimi G speaking. I was like, yeah, let me see the flyer. Okay, I'm coming.
Which is hilarious because afterwards we went to dinner and we went and had sushi and we was talking, and you told me that. You said, listen, I agreed to do this because I found out you was speaking. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know how it came up, but we started talking about getting paid to speak, and you was like, what, they paid you? And I
was like, ooh, you know what? It's all right, though. We're on a different level now. I don't play them games no more.
Okay. She's like, oh, that won't be me again. Best believe that.
Right?
Oh, my goodness. But we became friends and have known each other since then. And you've even spoken at some of my other events. So
yes, it's so fun.
Listen, I'm super excited. So I have a ton of questions for you, but really I just want it to be a natural conversation. So the reason that I wanted to have you come on is because in season 1 of episode 3 of the podcast, I did an episode called Stop Talking About You Broke. And I was I was sort of breaking down how we need to change our relationship and thoughts about money. And that many times those thoughts and behaviors are handed down from our parents, our communities, our partners, etc. And so I know that that's one of the things that you really work on. And I believe in your story, you said that in your family, you guys actually did talk about money, right?
Yeah, we did, but not in a negative way. It wasn't like the traditional household where it's like, we ain't got it, right? You know? That's not what. So I was fortunate that my dad was a CFO and an accountant. Mm. So a CFO is a chief financial officer. For those of you who didn't know,
right?
For like a small nonprofit, and so he and my mom, I'm one of 5 girls. So my mom was really in charge of like, what does money look like in real life? So my dad would sit down and teach us, this is how you budget, this is how you save, this is how you like do the plan on paper. And she would make that paper come to life because we would food shop with her, clothes, back to school shop with her, and like, watching her navigate with the budget. Mm. And, but I didn't grow up afraid of money. I didn't grow up, even though we didn't have money, quite honestly, but the way my parents presented it, it was more matter of fact and not like, we don't have it, this is a bad thing. It was like, this is how we manage, like, hey, like I remember wanting like for a bike for my birthday, and my dad was like, well, let me show you what me and mommy make every month, and let me show you what we pay out every month, and let me show you what's left and what we what we normally do, what's left. And then, so it wasn't, he didn't tell me I couldn't get a bike. He said, this is what's left. So we save some of this, we put some here. So this is your budget for the bike. So it was, you can get the thing within these parameters. So like I said, that didn't make me feel bad. It made me feel empowered. Like, okay, now I know I can get a bike as long as it's under this amount of money.
Right. And see, I think a lot of people grow up the way that I did, where it was like, we ain't got it. Like, even I have, I've been able to change that now because I know better. And so I do better. But when my two oldest were little and they would be like, Mom, can we have McDonald's? I'd be like, you got McDonald's money? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I grew up, not having it. Not, I thank goodness that over the last several years, I've learned so much about money and finances, but my credit, early on was shit. Like, I didn't know how to manage, but I didn't even know how to write, checks and balance checkbooks, because that stuff I just never learned. And so that sort of leads me to like the first question is like, what do you think are like the number one roadblocks when it comes to and when I say our, specifically like the Black and brown community's relationship to money?
Number one roadblock is mindset, for real. So I was looking at the statistic. I was reading like some the survey that Prudential did. It was really interesting because in the survey they found that Black and brown people, their number one goal for their finances was to become debt free. Now you might be like, oh, okay, what's wrong with that?
Right.
But the number one goal for everyone else in the country was to grow wealth. You see that distinction? That Black and brown people historically have associated wealth with debt freedom. That ain't true.
Right.
Let me tell you who's debt free. My 4-year-old nephew Roman's debt free. He's still broke though. That don't mean shit, right? Roman ain't got money, And so if we continue to just focus on debt freedom, that's all we'll ever get. That is not the same as growing wealth. And wealth is what allows us to raise our kids the way we want. Wealth is what allows us to buy homes and to pass on legacy. And so if we don't start focusing on wealth, then we will never have it. And that you really truly do what you think about and what you bring about. Right. And so what I'm trying to get people to see is that, like, if you take care of wealth, you will have enough to also achieve that freedom.
Right. So, it's really interesting because I think that's one of the things that I see most often is because people have these negative sort of relationships to money and don't really have the experience of being able to, know what budgeting is or saving is, because, when you work a 9-to-5 job and you don't have extra money, how do you save? Like, how do we get people to understand that or to even take small steps in that direction?
So first things first is really looking at your life. Oftentimes, that you either have one or two issues if you don't have money left over at the end of the month. You either have a don't make enough issue, or you have a spend too much issue. And sometimes people have a mix of the two. But typically people lean heavily in one way or the other. So the key is to first identify what's the true problem. Do I have a don't make enough problem, or I spend too much problem? Here's how you know. You do your budget, you list all of your expenses, and you tell yourself, like, okay, this is what I spend on average a month on these things. Right? So your expenses are not just your bills. It's grooming, it's going out, it's groceries, it's all the things. If you're not sure, pull up your debit card statement or your credit card statement. They know. Okay? So, and then I want you to put down a B next to all of the bills. So like if you pull up your statement or you pull up that paper that I told you to write, I like to call that paper your money list, where it's like nails, hair, groceries, rent, mortgage, car note, car insurance, all of that. So put a B next to all the bills. And you know it's a bill because it is, typically you would get like, people don't tend to get paper bills anymore, but you would get like a coupon thing in the mail. If you would get something in the mail for that, or if you don't pay it, it's going to be a problem. That's a bill.
Right.
So put a B next to all those. Right? Right. And so everything else, you're going to put a C next to. So a C is what I call, that's the difference between these kind of fixed, well, they're not always fixed, not all bills are fixed, but your bill expenses and your cash expenses. Cash expenses are where you have the most control. Now that you have your expenses split into two different categories, B for bills, C for cash, what do you have more of? If you have more B's and you don't have enough money at the end of the month, you likely have a don't make enough issue because most of your money is actually going toward your responsibility, right? If you have more C's, those are your cash expenses. Those are typically like hair, groceries, grooming, going out, anything that's not a bill, then you have a spend too much issue if you don't have enough money at the end of the month. So it's important to understand like what issue that you have so you can address that. Because if you have a spend too much issue, then let's look at your budget and cut down on some of those expenses. And if you have a don't make enough issue, do you need to side hustle? Do you need to go to work and say, hey, this is what I bring to the table. I'm asking for a raise. What does that look like?
Right.
And so identifying where you are and attacking that solution. Because what I find is this, Mimi, that people who have a don't make enough issue, they will start to try to make themselves spend less. It's like, you don't have a spend less issue, mama. You're a preschool teacher with 3 kids. You can't spend any less.
Right.
So now the baby's not going to get bologna? Right. Like, we're not doing that. So people will focus on the wrong thing. It's like, no, you need to learn to make more. That's what your issue is.
Right. So what's funny is, do you think, real talk, that a lot of times the issue is that they maybe make enough money, but they spending too much?
Oftentimes, but not always, but oftentimes that is the issue.
Because I don't think that I really understood that until I started to track it. Because I think it's easy for you not to realize that you're maybe buying too many fucking Starbucks that month. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And unless you're tracking it, you don't really see it. And I think that's where, like, all this money at the end of the month, you're like, I don't have no money. And I'm like, well, what did you spend it on? Like, what did you buy? Do you know? I'm having that sort of a little bit of that issue with getting my oldest daughter to understand that. Over the last year, she's done better, but she's self-employed. And so I'm like, listen, the very first thing you got to do is track everything, because you cannot budget properly for yourself or your business unless you know what's coming in and what's going out.
Yeah. So I'll say this. So for some people who are like, they're not ready for tracking, this is how you could dip your baby pinky toe into tracking and getting yourself together, right? So one of the things that I do to kind of introduce people to that, because it could be a lot. They're not trying to carry around their little notebook to track. But what I say is this, then, I need you to separate to see. Right? It's not just for relationships. Sometimes you need to separate yourself. Me now.
Right.
Sometimes you need to separate yourself.
Separate yourself. Yes.
Right? There's a word on today, right? So sometimes when it comes to your finances, we'll always say you need to separate the seed. So what that means is, as money comes in, you're going to begin to separate it. All of your money should really land in what I like to call your deposit account. That is the checking account you likely already have right now that's attached to your debit card. That is the first separation. It leaves whoever's paying you and lands into that account. Second separation is somebody should go get separated into your bills account. You should be adding up how much your bills are a month, and you should have a separate checking account, not attached to a debit card, into your bills. And that's what you're wanting to put your bill money. The reason why you don't want to attach to the debit card is you don't want to, quote unquote, accidentally swipe, right, and use your bill money. And then the third separation is separation into savings account. And so what that is you can already decide ahead of time based upon your budget. I really want to save $200 a month, so you can pull that money out every month, $100 a paycheck, or however you want to do the math. But separate that money into your savings account. So here's what's so great, that what's left in your deposit/spending account is what you can spend. Because the money has come in, the bill money is gone, the savings is gone. What's left is your spending. And you can't swipe your savings because you're going to put your savings in an online-only bank account. It's not going to be at your regular bank, like an online-only bank account, like an Ally Bank, for example, right? And so you can go to magnifymoney.com to find the best bank, a bank that's FDIC insured, a bank that pays the highest interest rate, a bank that's an A rating, has an A rating, and has a low required deposit. Those are the 4 components of the bank you're looking for. You can put your money there. Your bill money is separated. So what's left really is the money that you can swipe away. So what it will force you that you can't spend your bills, you can't spend your savings. So if you're not someone who's quite ready for tracking, what you've effectively done is only left yourself with the money you can spend. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's like the beginning. Like, so if you're not quite ready for tracking, because you really should track, but I know not everyone's ready to like get an A plus in money yet. So
Right.
this will allow you to get to a C plus by just leaving what you're left to spend with, and that way you know when you swipe your money, you're like, you know what, my money on my debit card is gone, but guess what? Bills are paid and saving is saved.
Right, 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 right. So, when we met, you were doing the Live Richer challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that I'm going off on a tangent now, but one of the things that I really loved when we first met is that we were like constant, like energy. You're like, oh, you should
Mm-hmm.
do this. Oh, no, you should do that. Oh, you should do this. Like, like sometimes you need somebody to be like, I have a great idea. You should do this too. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
sort of what inspired. You did the Live Richer Academy and then I did S.H.E.T Academy. But when we first met, you were doing the Live Richer Challenge. And so,
Mm-hmm.
share a little bit about why you wanted to start that, what it's done over time, and then how Live Richer Academy sort of came to be.
Yeah, so with the Live Richer challenge, what I wanted to do was I was already teaching financial education in person in New Jersey, and I was because I wanted them to keep hiring me. So you have to make yourself valuable so people need you. It was my first. I was broke, and it was my first contract, and I was like, ooh, like the classroom was looking real tight. I don't know if they use tight in California, but that's what they say in Jersey sometimes back in the day. Classroom, that means like ain't nobody here, it's looking real thin. I was like, there's no one in my class. And so that's because the United Way was doing all of the marketing.
Mm.
So I asked them, like, can I do the marketing myself to get people into the class so you guys can continue to pay me? I didn't say that second part, but that was the class.
Right.
And so they're like, sure, you can market. So I was marketing, come to class, and it started to fill up. But because social media was starting to grow, it wasn't just people in New Jersey who were seeing the marketing. People all of a sudden in Utah, California, Florida, I want to come, I
Mm-hmm.
want to come. And I thought, girl, do you live in Newark? You know? And I realized, what if I took this class that I'm teaching in person? What if I took it online? And so
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I'd written this 6-week program for the United Way, and I brought it online, and I called it the Live Richer Challenge because I thought to myself, what is it that I want people to really do? And I wanted people to live a richer, fuller life. And so I called it the Live Richer Challenge, and my goal was to get 10,000 women signed up. So it took me a whole year because I didn't know nothing about truly like digital marketing.
Right.
I could market organically, but I didn't have those skill sets. Plus, I didn't even know if they did Facebook ads back then.
Right.
Maybe they did, but I didn't know about it. And so I marketed for a full year. It took me a full year to get 10,000 people signed up. And I walked them through step by step this online course totally free, and it's still free. And the way it works is that for every challenge that I do, I break down each challenge by theme. So week 1 is always some sort of mindset theme. Week 2 is always some sort of like implementation, and week 3 is typically like what does it actually look like in your life. And so we've now done 5 Live Richer challenges. They're always free. It's my way to give back to the community. And honestly, it's the thing I'm most proudest of
Mm-hmm.
because over 800,000 women have done one or more of the challenges. We have saved well over $150 million
Good
collectively,
Lord.
paid off like over $100 million worth of debt. We bought homes. People have raised their net worth, send their kids to school. I mean, the challenge truly has been transformative in the lives of hundreds of thousands of women, and is what led me to create my online school, the Live Richer Academy, because I thought, like, okay, there's some things that I don't know. So what if I could bring in experts who knew more than me in specific subject matters, and if they could teach it,
Right.
like how to start a business or how to do your taxes and how to retire early, how to buy real estate. And so that's why I started the Live Richer Academy as an offshoot to elevate beyond the challenge.
I think truly you have done something that is changing, continues to change people's lives, which, I think that's one of the things where, when people look at the success of others, it's often tied to something that they've done that really just wanted to help people. When people ask me all the time, well, how you started your blog, I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help people learn to sew and feel good about the things that they were wearing and about their bodies and, and all these things. And I think that when it's genuine, right, when you genuinely are doing something because you want to help people, especially, Tiffany, when you don't see yourself represented
Yeah.
in those areas, it makes a really big difference because prior to you, every time I thought about finances or financial advisors and planners and educators, I never saw a young African American woman ever,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I think that really resonates with people and, you know, and our audiences to be able to say, wait a minute, you know, maybe I grew up this way, but that doesn't mean that was maybe the right way of approaching things and, you know, and making a better life for myself now, you know?
Yeah, and it's possible. We need representation. I think it's so easy when you are the dominant culture to say, well, what does it matter? Girl, you've been growing up seeing yourself your whole life. Your whole life. Like when I was a kid, I used to watch the Brady Bunch, and because I'm the second born, I used to tell myself I was Jan, but I didn't have Jan hair. So you know, I used to put a t-shirt on my head to pretend like I had hair like Jan because I didn't see myself.
Right.
So I assumed something must be wrong with me and the hair that I was born with because all I saw was this is what it looks like. This is what you're supposed to look like. So I always felt like so many of us felt that there must be something wrong with brownness and blackness. And that's just not true. So I'm just loving that there is more representation. Like, you know, like our you know, my mom sews and my grandma sewed. Mm-hmm. But when you saw sewing on like in the public, it didn't look like us.
Right.
You know? Right. And then here you go fly. And you're like, wait, you would be flying and sew? Hold up. You know, it's important that like people, you know, like us step out to show that, like, you know, that you're not the only one. You're interested in this thing that might not, quote unquote, be typical of your culture, but you'd be surprised with how many people are you know, are in alignment with what you enjoy or what you want to learn. So right. Yeah, I love, you know, being able to bring, you know, personal finance with a little sister girl flavor, because you know we can talk that talk. Right? And so, like, I'm going to teach you how to budget. I'm also going to be like, girl, now you
right. Now you right? tripping. Now you know you tripping.
Exactly. Right? And that's what you need to hear. You need to do, like, these cultural references. It's like, oh, okay, Tiffany, I see you. Like, you right. can see sometimes I'll do a post on Instagram, and I love where I'll be like, you know, you're not supposed to co-sign, because if that person does not pay, it's your responsibility too. And people be like, girl, mind your business, with a smiley face, you know, like, ooh, she's talking right. to me. And I love that. You know, I love that, because sisters are like finally like realizing that like personal finance is not just for them. It's for you too, mama. Like you right. can grow well. You know, you can be financially responsible. There are places, safe spaces you can go where you're not by yourself. That's why I started Dream Catchers. You know, like we're like the beehive of personal finance, right? And so we have like that Facebook group of Dream Catchers, Live Richer with the Budget Nista, and there it's 450,000 women, 24 hours a day, helping each other out, and I love it.
That's crazy amazing. Like it's really amazing. So, do you think that people have a hard time thinking that they can do certain things because they don't have money or extra money, or, you know, like, for example, investing? Like, do you have to have money to start making investments towards your future or retirement?
I think that people think they have to have more than what they actually have to have. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. I think that people think they can't start with $10 a month. Who said?
Right.
You know, and that's just not true. Like, if you don't do anything else, like I've been preaching this like a song for the last couple of years, something called a target date fund. So you can get a target date fund that is a retirement account, or you can get a target date fund that's just like what I call a wealth building account. And so that just means an account that it's some place that you're investing that's not for retirement. And so what a target date fund is that you pick your target date that you want to withdraw this money. And sometimes the target date is retirement, and sometimes it might be for a wedding. People do a target date fund for a wedding or for college. So target date funds usually are every 5 years. So it'll be like you could pick like, oh, I'm going to retire in 2000 and say 2050, 51. So you pick your target date fund for 2055 or 2050, 2060. So every 5 years you can pick what date that you want your target date fund to mature. What's so great about a target date fund is that many times you don't know what to invest in. That's the biggest reason why people don't. Yep. You don't have to know what a target date fund, because a target date fund typically is a mutual fund. A mutual fund is a collection of investments, so stocks and bonds. So you might have some Dell Computer and some Apple and some Walmart and some Target, all these things. You don't know which one to buy. You ain't got to know. Right. Target date fund, no. right? And so it'll put all of that in there for you. And what's really important about target date funds is that it does something called rebalancing. And so what that means is that the closer you get to your target date, the more conservative and quote unquote safer your investment should become. My dad is in his 70s. He don't need to be in a whole bunch of stocks. Stocks are volatile, right? So because with stocks, we all hear the stock market is up, stock market is down, it's up, it's down. And so if you are invested heavily in stocks, your money, and just in stocks, your money is going to be going up and down and up and down, and it might go down at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
So his target date fund would actually have him more invested in things like bonds. So bonds are a little bit safer, and they allow for him, like they protect what they call your capital, which is like the money that you have invested. And so with a target date fund, every year you normally would have to rebalance yourself, meaning like take some money out of stocks, put some money in the bond, take some money out of stocks. But you don't have to do that with a target date fund. It does it for you automatically. Your only job is to either put a lump sum of money every year. You can put money every month. Mm-hmm. It's like a savings account. So you might start a target date fund, just be putting $10 a paycheck in there. And then you make a little bit more money than $50 a paycheck. So once you open it, you're not going to do nothing else but put your money in there when you see fit. And it's like the best way to start investing. So if you don't do nothing else today, like, so there are companies like Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Fidelity. They all have target date funds. And what makes the target date fund special is that it's also very low fees. So there's something called an expense ratio. That is the fee that they're charging you for managing your target date fund. Now, if you were to see a financial advisor or planner, which is nothing wrong with that, they're going to charge you typically at minimum 1% of the money you've invested with them, if that's how they're getting paid. That means if you have $100 invested with that financial planner or advisor, they're going to take $1 from your investment for their fee. A target date fund, like I last checked, like I think Vanguard, whatever, it was like 0.09%, meaning not 1%, but like a piece of a penny.
Wow.
So that's great.
Yeah.
That means something that your financial advisor or planner is likely doing anyway, you get to do it, but for 1/10 the cost. And so that's why I preach about target date funds. So no excuses not to invest. Target date funds are your friends. Okay?
Right. And that means that when tax time hit and you get your little refund, put that shit in what Tiffany just said, instead of buying a new car, a new bag, or some old bullshit that ain't going to be worth nothing once it gets to your door. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. That's a great, so even if you're like, well, I can't afford it every month, Mimi's right. Well, with your tax refund, beef up your target date fund. If you do that every year, you will, in 10 years from now, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm in such a better space because I had this daggone target date fund. I'm glad I listened.
Right. And I think that is what makes what you do so important, because I think it lets people know that you can come out of whatever situation you're in if you're smart, if you make better choices than the ones that we find ourselves making. Because to be quite honest, when I used to get that refund check, I'd be like, oh, I waited all year, I'm gonna buy all the shit I couldn't buy throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? But had I known that instead I could take this money and put it somewhere that's gonna work for me, girl, I'd be done. I'd be retired in the Bahamas.
For real. Honestly, if I could talk to 19-year-old Tiffany, I would be like, girl, all in her ear, girl, right? Like, for real, it would be a different life for me now. And the thing is, the earlier you start, the less you have to put up.
Right.
So you need to be in your baby's ears, right? So you have kids, I need you to put that $10 a month up. I need you to, if they start that now, by the time that they're your age, it's going to be a different life for them. I wish I was doing better than most, but I wish I knew all that I knew now. Because quite honestly, I already have, I'll call myself a baby millionaire.
Right.
Right. And right. So don't let Mimi fool you. She is too, if she hasn't said it already. Okay. Right. And so, right. But I would have been a baby millionaire much sooner.
Right.
And without having to start. Yeah. And because here's the thing. So me and Mimi are baby, right, and big girl millionaires. But that's because of the businesses we started. You don't have to start some big successful business to be a baby millionaire if you start as soon as you can with this target date fund.
Right.
So that's what that's what I want to impress upon you, that you don't have to have some big old business in order to be okay financially. That's just not true.
Yeah.
You know, that if you make choices now for your future, you can be a school teacher and still be good.
Yeah. You have a lot of free resources on your site. So you guys, if you want to go to thebudgetnista.com, there's a lot of information. Besides the Live Richer Challenge and then the Live Richer Academy. But you mentioned about starting really young. And so that's leading me to the next thing I wanted to say was a big congratulations to you. And please tell us about Molly Moore.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I don't know if they can see. It looks like my screen froze, but if they can't see, I'm holding up my picture of Molly Moore. So I decided, like when I used to be a preschool teacher for over 10 years before I started the Budgetnista. And I taught in the hood, and parents would ask me, let me hold something. And then the kids would be like, Miss Tiffany, can you buy me? And so I thought, what's a great way to teach kids age-appropriate financial education lessons so they can grow up to be more responsible? So I used to make up stories for them, because if you have children between the ages of 3 and 7, a great way to teach a lesson is to teach it to another character.
Mm-hmm.
So they can judge the character. You can be like, that's you. You over here judging Arthur. That's you, boo-boo. You are Arthur. Right? And so as I was telling those stories, I told myself one day I would love to turn these stories into an actual book. And I finally, after 10,000 projects later, got around to it. And I wrote my first of many children's books, Happy Birthday, Molly Moore. And it's about this little girl.
Oh, you got applauses. You got applauses. We got some sound effects up in here.
And so Molly Moore is going to be teaching pre-financial education lessons like math and counting and numbers, but also service and community and donating and sharing and giving. Less versus more. Rhyming. These are all pre-financial education lessons. And in her first book, Happy Birthday, Molly Moore, it's her birthday. In the beginning, she's excited about her family and friends coming until the presents get there, and she makes the presents a priority until she realizes that, I have all these presents, and so much so that I've not left any place for my family and friends to feel comfortable, so they've gone outside. And now that it's time to blow out my candle, I'm in here alone. So what does more truly mean? And she has to make a decision of what she's going to do. And at the back of every book, I also show I share some financial lessons that parents can teach their children. So lessons and activities that you can do to extend the lesson. So I'm so proud of it. I recently we did a Kickstarter for it because I want to give free books away to children in low-income communities, and I also want to hire some teachers to write additional financial education lessons that I can then give away for free. And the Kickstarter is almost completely funded. We're like, if you're listening to this a year from now, we good.
Right.
If you listen to it now,
if you're listening right now, the link is in the show notes.
Yes, I was going to say, go on ahead to mollymore.com. And her name is Molly, MALI, MORE. And people are like, Molly, what black girl's name Molly? I'm like, MALI, right? And so, but that's even just her website. So, like, even if it doesn't point to Kickstarter, like 5 years from now, MALIMORE.com will take you to get a book. And honestly, I'm so proud of it. It just feels magical, like to have like this little girl that like I know is going to teach other little girls about personal finance, but in a way that's age appropriate. And then you as a parent or a teacher or an auntie, grandmother, whatever, that you have the opportunity to teach a lesson that you might not normally feel comfortable teaching because you're like, well, my money's not straight. But it's like, I got you. And like I got you and your baby. So it's honestly one of the things I'm most proud of.
It's amazing. I mean, like we talked about this at length. I think we talked on the phone for like an hour and a half the last time we talked. And we shared a lot of the, ideas and things that we wanted to do. And that just was so amazing to me because it's really how you change the world, right? Is by changing the lives of these children and what they're going to grow up knowing and understanding that their parents didn't understand. Listen, parents going to be reading Molly Moore Happy Birthday, and they're going to be like, oh, I just learned something too in this 4-sentence book. You know what I'm saying? Because you just explained what the book was about. I was like, ooh, a gem. Like, you know,
for real.
So that's
really
what I'm
amazing.
Hoping.
And I found out, like, I was like, wow, look at this alignment. Because I think we were talking about, like, our word for the year is alignment.
Yeah.
And so I posted it on my social media channel, and a woman in the comments was like, I'm from Kenya. Do you know what Mali means in Swahili? And I was like, no. She's like, girl, Mali means wealth. I'm like, no, it don't. Right?
What?
I didn't
See,
know.
that's deep.
Mali, yes. And I was like, wow, I didn't. Oh, girl, I'm just getting goosebumps because when you are in alignment,
Yep.
I'm telling you, the world opens up to you and things happen exactly as they ought to be. It was so much so when she said it, I knew instantly that the next book was going to be called What Does Mali Mean? And that I was going to use Mali to illustrate to children how wealth can be expressed in more ways than just money.
Yeah.
Like I can show that wealth means love, wealth means hugs and kisses. Wealth does mean money, but it also means giving and sharing. So I already know the second book is going to be What Does Mali Mean? And I'm excited to do so.
Wow. Well, I'm excited for you and I can't wait to see it because, like I said, you are changing lives. You're changing the world, not just, when it comes to finances, but really in just education, which is, incredible. And kudos to you for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of that really comes from just changing, like we talked about, the mindset of most people, which is something that I worked on for many years. Which is why I talk so much about manifesting and affirmations and changing the way you think about things, because really, like you said, what you're constantly focusing on is what you're going to get. And the same goes for money. Your thoughts, your relationship, your behaviors to money is just going to keep giving you that same thing, so you have to change it. You have to make the change for yourself, for your children, for, your grandchildren or whatever. And my girl Tiffany is doing it, you know what I'm saying, and doing it big.
Well, when you around, you have to be mindful about being around dope people because, you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So being mindful, like if you're wanting to grow business, are you hanging out with other entrepreneurs? Like Mimi pushes me to be better. I'm always asking for advice, like, okay, and I'm not sensitive about like, what did you say? I'm like, ooh, girl, good. Read me. What do I need to do better? Okay, let me fix it. Because it's important that you're open to feedback from people who know. Now, like I'm not, I don't take rich advice from broke people, right? So meaning like if your hair's not laid, please don't tell me what to do with mine.
Right.
Right? If you're, like if you over there coughing, don't tell me talking about like, yeah, and this is how I stay healthy, like this. Right?
Right.
So like you don't have to be an expert in all things, but I know that when I'm seeking advice about specific things, I look to someone who has successfully accomplished the thing in this category that I want to do.
Right.
And so it's important that you have amazing people in your life, but that you're open to receiving the feedback so you can do better. Because if you have good people in your life, they're not, when Mimi's sharing stuff with me, it's because she's like, girl, I know you could do better. Plus, I want to see you win. And I want to see her win too.
Right. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? I mean, one hand helps the other, not the other way around. People have this impression that you're supposed to not help people because then it's somehow going to keep you from realizing whatever dream it is that you want to do, and I'm always yelling in the other direction, like, no, like the more people you help, the more people help you.
Yes, the quickest way to a bag is to let somebody else or help somebody else get their bag.
Okay, talk about it. Shit. Listen, I give everybody an actionable to do every episode. So it's something that they can do to start changing whatever topic I'm talking about at the moment. So since today we're talking about money, what is one small actionable to do that they can start doing today?
One small actionable. I would say that if you don't already, I would open up a separate checking account specifically for your bills at the current bank that you have. If you don't already do that, that's going to make a tremendous difference. And if you're like, oh, I got that already, great. Then you, part 2 people, will open up a savings account at an online-only bank and set up an automation to that savings account. It's even better if you don't even let the money hit your traditional bank account. And you go to your job, if you have a job, and say, hey, don't even give me all my money in this one account. Split it before I get it. Okay, split it.
Split it before you get it, girl. New T-shirt.
And have that money. Exactly. And then have to split into your savings account already. So let's just say you get paid like this for the sake of math, $100 a month, and you're like, I want to save $20 a month. So your job can put $80 in one account and $20 in your savings account. So that's your homework, is to open up bank accounts that are in alignment with your goals. A bills account, if you don't have one, and a savings account, and an online-only bank.
Yes. And I'm going to list all of the apps that you talked about in this episode in the show notes so
Okay.
people can go and check it out, to sort of help them get started. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's such a good time every time that I talk to you. And so thank you for imparting all of your wisdom to my listeners today.
You're welcome. I love teaching. I miss the kids used to call me, the babies used to call me Miss Tiffany. Miss Tiffany, Miss Tiffany. So I still feel like I'm Miss Tiffany, teaching the world how to be better.
There you go. What better way to leave you guys today than with that? Thank you, Tiffany. Guys, remember that we have a Facebook group if you want to join. The link is in the show notes. It's just a really great place for you guys to gather and talk with like-minded folks, either starting a business, growing a business, or thinking about starting a business. Make sure you follow on Instagram at Business Shit and at Mimi G Style, and I will have all of the information on how you can follow Tiffany and also information on the Live Richer Academy in case you guys are interested in educating yourselves. And thank you for listening. And remember that in order for your business to succeed, it must be the shit. It needs to solve a problem, help them get past their current stage, earn respect, and build trust. I'm out.